I want to just echo the thanks and appreciation to Vanda and the Equality Trust team for organising this event. We've been in a similar position at Fawcett ourselves, organising a range of Zoom events over the last few weeks in the context of the COVID crisis. And, you know, it's amazing what you can do with a small team and a bit of will and determination to pull things together. But it's great to see so many people on the event as well. So I'm going to say a little bit about the right to know, but I think it's important that we also contextualise it with what is happening around us right now, because that's making quite a big difference, I think, both to what's happening to women in the workplace and to prospects for equality at work, but also the opportunity that that presents. And I think there are some real opportunities as well which are coming towards us, so we do need to be ready to sort of take advantage of them. But first, a bit about the right to know and kind of what we've been doing to campaign on that. So I suppose the reason we started campaigning for the right to know is because the closer we got to the legislation and looking at, you know, the Equal Pay Act itself, which, as we know, is obviously 50 years old, it seemed to us that it wasn't really working for women. So the law as it stands doesn't really deliver what we need it to deliver. And there are a number of reasons for that. One is that basic lack of transparency, which your report today highlights so well. So, you know, you can't fight for equality with something if you don't know what it is. You can't, you know, if you don't know what your male colleagues are earning, you're failing at the first hurdle, really. So that seemed to me to be a fundamental flaw in the legislation that we needed to address. Secondly, it's incredibly challenging for individual women to bring cases anyway. So the cost, the stress, you know, just the years that it takes sometimes to fight for equal pay. You know, and it's great if you've got your union by your side and supporting you, but a lot of women obviously don't have a trade union. Sometimes trade unions don't always support the cases, let's be honest. It's not like they give universal support. They'll be selective about the cases they support, and we get women coming to us with our Equal Pay Advice Service who've tried to get help from their trade union and haven't been able to. But it's just exhausting for individual women to fight these cases. Many of them prefer to settle and rather than conclude a case. It's just too difficult and challenging for them. So, and it's in the interest of the employer to spin the cases out and to make them last even longer. And so that's how you end up in the situation where a lot of women drop their claims or they don't succeed. So we wanted to do something to really modernise the law. We felt 50 years of the Equal Pay Act is the perfect time to modernise the law. So we pulled together a group of leading experts who looked at some detail at this and came up with this simple proposition of giving women an enforceable right to know, and it does have to be enforceable as well. So really what that is giving her access to pay information if she suspects pay discrimination in her workplace. It's not revealing everybody's salaries at that moment to everybody. It's not as wide-ranging as that. It's about the individual having access to pay information about a comparator. And that, again, that is how the equal pay legislation is an individual right to challenge based on a comparator in her workplace. Today we've had the news that Keir Starmer is backing that change in the law, which is really fantastic for us. We've obviously, in the context of COVID, not been able to campaign on it as hard as we'd wanted to in the last couple of months, but we started back with Equal Pay Day in November last year, publishing some new evidence, including demonstrating public support for a law change. And then when we asked women, well, do you know about whether what your colleagues are earning, or do you think that they're being paid more, your male colleagues are being paid more for doing the same job? 3 in 10 women said they didn't know, and another 3 in 10 said they think men are being paid more for doing the same job. So pay discrimination is much more widespread than people think, and it is very much hidden. It goes below the radar, and because we have this culture of pay secrecy and a lack of transparency in our workplaces, it can just persist. It's very easy for it to remain a feature of our workplaces. And as you know, the gender pay gap is related but different. That's the average difference between hourly pay between women and men, and it has multiple causes. And one of the challenges with this issue, which you're just feeding back with your session from the workshops, is that you've got structural inequality and structural causes of that inequality in the workplace, but you've also, alongside that, got individual discrimination against individual women and an individualised right to equal pay. So you've got the emphasis on the individual in the legislation, but you've actually got structural problems in the labour market. You know, the unequal impact of caring roles, the way we channel women into certain roles and men into other roles. All of these things create those sort of structural inequalities in the labour market, and that is all wrapped up into that gender pay gap average figure. But what we've really got to do is to shine a light on pay discrimination and to get the law to work for women so they can actually achieve equal pay, because at the moment it just cannot deliver. It's basically written in a way is to make it impossible for women to challenge to get equal pay unless they go all the way to a tribunal. So our legislation would also give them a chance to get that information up front, resolve the case with their employer, and to avoid having to go to tribunal, which I think is in everyone. Where we go next, I think in the context of COVID, there are a couple of really important things in terms of where we go next. One is we can literally see day by day with the evidence that's being produced, the IFS, Resolution Foundation, our own evidence, that it's getting worse for women. So women are more likely to have lost their jobs, more likely to have given up work, roughly equally furloughed, but in terms of likelihood of being in paid work, 9 percentage points less now likely than men to be in paid work as a result of this crisis. We're seeing hugely significant differences in terms of the unequal impact of caring roles. So yes, some dads are doing more, but actually if you look at overall who's doing the most within households, it's still overwhelmingly women. And then we're seeing the impact of which sectors in particular have been closed down, and those sectors are very female dominated, so tourism, leisure, retail, and so on. So all of these issues are coming exactly at the same time, and this is what's really worrying in terms of prospects for equality. So it's going to mean that we need big government intervention. We just like we've had with the furlough scheme, we need something bold and ambitious to support women, both in terms of their future work prospects, but if we're not in terms of closing the gender pay gap and addressing unequal pay.
Sorry, Sam, would you mind just wrapping up now, please?
Okay, I'll just wrap up. One thing I want to chuck in is childcare. So the other big issue we've got is the fact that we are likely to see 150,000 fewer childcare places as a result of this crisis. Overwhelmingly women work in that sector, so it's women losing their jobs, and it will mean that there's no childcare infrastructure to support women returning to work. So we're calling for a major investment in our care economy in childcare so that we can actually get women back into work in a sustainable way.